Welcome back to the Hill Update. I'm your host, Dean Allison. Joining me on the show today is Member of Parliament for St. Albert, Edmonton, Michael Cooper. Michael, sorry we got cut off there. I just want your thoughts on the private members bill that we had there to try and respond to that issue.
Yes, EdFast Bill C-314, would have permanently scrapped this radical and dangerous expansion of MAID for mental illness. There are inherent problems with this expansion that demonstrated cannot be implemented safely. The two biggest issues are that it is difficult, if not impossible, to determine irremediability in cases of mental illness. Consequently, what that means is that persons who could get better, who could go on to lead a healthy and happy life, would have their lives prematurely ended, which is completely unacceptable. The second fundamental problem is that it is difficult to accurately distinguish on the part of clinicians a rational request for MAID versus one motivated by suicidal ideation. And that's underscored by the fact that in suicide deaths, 90% or so of suicide deaths involve persons who have a diagnosable mental disorder. So in light of those clinical issues and ethical issues, it cannot be implemented safely. And as a result, the appropriate thing to do is to say, for the government to say they got it wrong and that it should be scrapped. But the Liberals defeated that fast bill.
Okay, let's have a quick, I got a clip of you talking about C-62 and then love your thoughts as we finish off on C-62.
That's the only member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Madam Speaker, I served on the Special Joint Committee on MAID, and the overwhelming evidence from experts, including leading psychiatrists, is that there are fundamental clinical problems with MAID in cases where mental illness is the sole underlying condition, including the difficulty in predicting irremediability, as well as distinguishing a request that is rational from one motivated by suicidal ideation. What evidence can the members cite to indicate that these fundamental clinical problems will be resolved in 3 short years?
Okay, so C-62 has completed third reading and it got royal recommendation on February 29th. So just your comments on 62 and where do we go from here?
Well, it demonstrates what a shambolic approach this government has taken to this. This is the second extension that the government has had to seek in the way of 11th hour legislation because we're not ready. And we won't be ready until these clinical issues are resolved. And the chances of those being resolved in the near future are simply not likely. And so what the Liberals have done with Bill C-62 is they've kicked the can down the road for 3 years, a further 3-year delay. I can guarantee you that those very same issues that I just outlined are going to be present in 3 years. They will not be resolved. So this is a government that I think is divided internally. There are some Liberal MPs who get it, who recognize this is not appropriate, and some who have in fact been quite vocal, like Marcus Pulowski. But there are others in their caucus that are ideological, like former Justice Minister David Lametti. He's not there anymore, but there are those who think like him, who, for them, this is ideological, and they've put their ideology ahead of evidence-based decision-making because the evidence is clear. This is not safe. So the only good news in all of this is that between now and the 3-year extension, there will be an election, and Canadians will have a choice. They can elect a radical and ideological Liberal government under Justin Trudeau that want to offer death instead of help and hope to persons who are suffering with mental illness, or they can elect a common sense Conservative government led by Pierre Poilievre that will scrap this dangerous expansion and offer help and hope rather than death to persons suffering from mental illness.
Well, thank you, Michael. Really appreciate you being here today. You have been a champion on this issue, and I can't help to think that the work of your committee, as well as those groups that have been organized and rallied, probably helped push this off, right? Because there was not a lot of people that had stomach to do anything at this point in time. So we look forward to having you back at some point to keep us updated on what's going on. Thank you very much for your hard work on this file.
Thanks very much, Dean.